Hey guys, my name is Matsumiyo, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you'd like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you could do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question for today is, what are your thoughts on the state of Rainbow Six Siege? So I've been getting a lot of questions along these lines because I think a lot of people are a little unsatisfied with this most recent season, and I can sort of see where they're coming from. First of all, we're having to deal with two very powerful operators. This seems to be a theme with Ubisoft lately. They come out with two new characters, they're really good. After a couple of months, they realize, they may have been a little bit too good, then they have to reel them in. But for those couple of months, you're dealing with some characters that could really be a bit game-changing, a little game-breaking in some cases. Now, this isn't true for every single season. If we look back at last, for example, Meister and Alibi were really well balanced. They haven't seen any significant changes because they haven't really needed. But if we take a look back even further, we got Finka and Lion. Those were pretty broken when they were introduced. Of course, Ella was overpowered for like 6 months. Her reign of terror was substantial. Like, there's all these examples where they just release a new operator, they come out way too strong, and then everyone has to kind of deal with it for a while, and it kind of wears on people. Another thing I've noticed this season is that the netcode and hit registration hasn't really been all that fantastic. Now, my experience might be different from you guys, but there's been a lot of situations lately where I try to line a headshot against someone, and it just doesn't seem to want to register. In those moments where I need to take out multiple targets directly in front of me, to have one of my headshots just not land for whatever reason, of course, is going to mean the difference between me winning and losing, and that can be very frustrating. Now, I don't want to paint a terrible picture here, because I'm not saying the netcode and hit registration is the worst that it's ever been. That would just be false. The game has progressed significantly over the last couple of years, as things have definitely gotten better, but it does feel like over this last couple of months or updates that the hit registration has gotten a little worse, and I would hope that Ubisoft is going to be making some improvements in the future. And then finally, and I think one big reason why people have been a little unsatisfied lately with this season is that because the game gets bigger and bigger every single season, they introduce these new operators that have their little gimmick that you're having to accommodate for all of these different strategies. And while that, on one hand, is the charm of Rainbow Six Siege, you're always having to adapt on the fly, you're always having to change your strategy based off of what the other operators are. A lot of these combos and a lot of these tactics that people are using really just aren't all of that enjoyable to go against. For example, one round you might be going against a Jackal, Lion, and Dokubi combo, which is just a nightmare. After that, they've got a really aggressive playstyle and they rush you with Blitz. The next game after that, they run a Maverick, open up silent holes, and take you out seemingly out of nowhere. If Ubisoft wants to get to that 100 operator mark, I can only imagine how difficult it's going to be to balance all of the different combos and synergies between all of them. We're already running into the issue where combos and these strategies are becoming a little taxing for players. What's going to happen when they add even more? And so all in all, while I definitely do not think that this is the worst season ever, not by a long shot. The game is still a lot of fun, even though it does have its problems. It's still really enjoyable, but I can see where people are coming from. And so let me know what you guys think about this season. What do you think the state of the game is like? Do you like the direction that Ubisoft is taking? Do you have the same experience with the netcode as I do, or am I over-exaggerating? Let me know down below in the comments. The next question comes from Will, and it is, what do you think about a Rainbow Six operator that could reinforce a soft wall or reinforced wall so that the wall can be breached for line of sight, but not made into a passageway for anybody? That is a really intriguing idea. So basically, you would reinforce a wall. If they opened up with a thermite, there would be really large bars still in the way so that you could shoot at anyone that was on the opposite end, but you couldn't actually physically move on into the objective room. That could have loads of applications. Now, you could run into some serious issues, especially if you had two of these. Let's say you were playing on Chalet, for example. Down below in the basements, how in the world is offense going to be able to get through that reinforced wall? You wouldn't be able to. Unless there was a restriction, maybe you couldn't put two of these directly next to each other. That would be one workaround. But if you were able to put them side by side, yes, offense can still see on in. That is going to give them that line of sight, but it's going to severely limit them while trying to take that objective, at least from that angle. One aspect that I like about this idea is that it would require a little bit more thought on the player who is using Thermite or Habana on what walls they should be opening on up. This could act as a deterrent. If you know that you're not going to be able to open up a hole for your team to pass on in and get into the other room, you may not even want to waste your gadgets. You might want to use your gadgets so you can open up a line of sight. These are things you would have to consider, which of course isn't something that they have to do right now. One limiting factor of this operator though is that you would still be able to open up lines of sight and take people out on the defensive team, and as Maverick has clearly demonstrated, a small little hole is all you need to be able to take someone out. Also, Maverick would be the perfect counter to this guy. Maverick is all about opening up small holes, not necessarily ones to pass on into the objective room, and so he would be the perfect counter to this new character. And so all in all, I think this is a really intriguing idea. I'm not sure how balance-wise it would work in the grand scheme of things. I can already foresee a couple of problems on certain objectives, but if Ubisoft was able to iron out a couple of kinks here and there, or had a couple of workarounds, this could be a fairly well-balanced and an interesting new character added into Siege. The next question comes from Michael, and it is, are you into the Fallout series? If so, what are your thoughts on Fallout 76? I was really looking forward to Fallout 76 when it was first revealed, but the more and more I learn about it, and especially when we saw the most recent gameplay reveals, it doesn't really look like it's gonna be all that good. Now, I don't want to judge a book by its cover, but graphically, it looks incredibly outdated. Fallout 4, when it came out, wasn't a graphic powerhouse, and it doesn't seem like it's aged very well into Fallout 76. I'm assuming they're using the same engine. Another thing I'm not too satisfied about is that it doesn't seem like it's going to be a very narrative-driven game. The Fallout franchise is known for their stories, learning about the world, all the different people and how they interact with each other, the different factions on how they compete with resources in the world around them. That's what makes Fallout fun and interesting. Yes, the gameplay can be enjoyable, but at its core, it's all about those RPG story elements. And while I believe there are going to be quests in this, they've already showed off a couple of them, it doesn't seem like the game is leaning on that as much, and it's more going to be about the co-op multiplayer survival aspect. When I was watching the gameplay, it really just felt like this was a survival mod for Fallout 4. There doesn't even really seem to be like there's going to be PvP. According to some interviews, it sounds like if you want to take out another player, the way that you do it is that you take a shot at them, they then have to respawn and take a shot at you before you can even do damage. Now, I imagine the reason why they're doing this is to stop griefing. If you're trying to get from point A to point B, but you've got a group that's constantly trying to take you out, that's going to be really frustrating. But at the same time, it's like, why even have player versus player if you can't even have really those meaningful interactions? You're never going to have the drop on someone because the only way they can even interact with you is if they shoot back, which I guess gives them the advantage in those situations. And so in general, Fallout 76 is a bit of a wait and see for me. I'm hopeful that the core gameplay is fantastic and they've really done a good job there, because on a surface level, it looks like it leaves a lot to be desired. The next question comes from Scott, and it is, what do you think about Rainbow Six Siege adding a battle pass system? I don't think that's necessary because they already have a season pass, and isn't that exactly what a battle pass system is, but slightly different? Now, if they want to add on to the season pass that we already have and add in some of those features where the longer you play, you unlock new skins, new items and stuff like that, I'm all for it. But to have a season pass and then to introduce a battle pass, I feel like would be a little bit too much. Maybe this is just me, but I feel like this would be triple dipping on already a system that's quadruple dipping with the ways that they've been able to monetize this game. That said though, if they did want to add on to the season pass and give us more things to strive after and earn, I don't think that's a terrible idea. For example, they could make the season weapon skins a reward. There's a lot of ways that they could go about it, and honestly, this could be a good thing for the game overall. Ubisoft wants you to play more and more. The more you play, the more likely you are to be invested, the more likely you are to buy something with real-world money, which funds the further development of the game. And so overall, while I don't think it's a terrible idea, I would hope that it would be added on to the current season pass that we already have. If Ubisoft wanted to slide in a battle pass system that costs an extra $10 every couple of months on already the crazy amount of other ways they monetize this game, that's where I feel like they'd be pushing things a bit too far. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's episode of Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Do you think that they should add a battle pass system into Rainbow Six Siege? Would you not like that? Let me know down below in the comments. As always, if you'd like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.